me know when we're live, and I'll open the meeting.
You know, I've done it before. It's as simple as clicking go live, and it just. I think we should be live now.
Okay, welcome everyone to the first official Glendale School District Board of Directors meeting on YouTube. So if you all stand with me to recite the pledge and then remain standing and vote us out. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States, Republic which stands one nation under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you very much. Mrs. McGarvey, will you please call the roll?
Richard Creek,
Here.
Brenda Dubler,
Here.
Jeffrey Gallagher,
Here.
Richard Gates,
Here.
Kenneth Menzer,
Here.
Dr. Andy Mulholland,
Here.
Leo Sinclair,
Here.
Kay Stiver,
Here.
Gary Wallstrom, Gary Wallstrom. Okay.
That was a hear from Gary Wallstrom.
I saw him.
I see Mr. Wallstrom. Can you do your mic? There he is.
Thank you.
All right. Good.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay. So we're going to go through a review of committee business, and then there will be a 30-minute, up to a 30-minute period for public comment after the administrative reports. So we will start with the Discipline and Curriculum Committee. Mr. Gates, can you lead us through that?
Yes, discipline and curriculum. Number one, consideration to approve the addition of board policy number 00.1, attendance and electronic communications. Number two, consideration to approve a continuity of education plan. Number three, consideration to retroactively approve a letter of agreement with Sinclair Child Services Incorporated to provide guidance and coordination of services. Number four, consideration to approve an agreement with Adelphi Education Services for the 2021 school year at a daily rate of $103.81 for emotional support of your educational success credit recovery services. Number five, consideration to approve the purchase of consumable materials for our Journeys Reading Program from Follett School Solutions in the amount of $10,878.94. That is all.
Anybody have any questions or comments?
Yes, I do.
Go ahead.
I have one on two and some on two and one on number three. Number three, I want to know if the Coport Community Nursery School should also have one of these agreements.
This is a yearly thing from Sinclair,
Yes.
and we've never had one from Coport.
No, and I
So-
just don't know whether they should do it, start doing it.
Amy, I guess we can look at that document to see if there's any benefits moving forward, but we've never had one.
Yeah, I mean, maybe schedule a meeting.
Is there any benefit for having that? I mean,
That I don't know. I didn't know whether it would cover us or cover them.
That's what Attorney Willett and Ed were just talking about. Perhaps we can meet with, maybe administration could meet with Coport Nursing School.
I can say I know Sinclair has to provide this to be able to get their grant funding. So that's what this is about.
Oh, okay.
it's
Okay.
just for the grant funding.
Sinclair, not so much to us in this agreement. Sinclair has to have it. Is that correct?
Right.
Okay, so I don't know if the Coport Nursing School needs such an agreement or not, but perhaps we can look into that. Okay, what was your other question, Theo?
Okay, it was on the continuality of education plan. Okay, on the first one, under overview of the plan, It's on the first page. I was wondering, are the teachers monitored for their compliance for doing this? Because I have heard some of the parents are complaining they're not receiving support. They're just getting a little bit more than told to complete a workbook or prescribed.
I can tell you that our administration is having virtual faculty meetings and daily communication as needed, department head meetings. It's a learning process. We're getting better every day. I'm not going to say it's perfect. It's something that it is a work in progress. A month ago, we weren't prepared, and I am thrilled with the progress we've made with our teachers and our administrators and the communication, using Zoom, using resources online. To be honest, it's not hard to believe that some are better at this than others,
Right.
and we're continuing to work with them to improve their skill level as well. And I think it's something that'll be beneficial moving forward. So, Brian?
I want to say that we've been fielding.
Can you hear Brian when he's talking?
Yeah, I can.
We've been fielding some questions here and there about the, connectivity with some parents. We're finding out that in some cases, it is people not knowing where to go, and we've been trying to direct them where to go. Pretty much every day, I get kids connected to where they're supposed to be. I send an email out to a teacher. What's the status on this kid? Their parent had a question. And, little by little, we're going to knock them all off. But in a lot of cases, the teacher has sent out an invite and the kid hasn't accepted it. So they have to go into their email, and we let them know where to go to do that. Some cases we find out that their internet just isn't going to work, and then we move to a paper type of instruction for them, where they pick up stuff as they come for their lunches. So every day we whittle off a couple more kids, trying to get them all connected to somebody.
Okay, now Brian, you're saying you give them paper and pencil if they can't connect. Who's doing the printing? How are they getting this stuff?
What they do is the teachers know that we hand out lunches every Tuesday and Thursday. And so teachers email me every Monday night and Tuesday and Friday. Teachers email me every Monday night and Thursday night with packets of stuff. I come in early the morning of distribution, print them all out, label them with the kids' names, and as they come get their lunches, I hand them packets of work.
So we're distributing hard copies whenever they're here to pick up their lunches.
Yes.
Okay. Also, I know, I'm concerned, are these teachers implementing the curriculum we have now? Because the problem isn't now. The problem is going to be next year when they come back in. We have to make sure that they're giving these students the proper, curriculum. That's what I'm concerned.
They are to a point. There's only so much we can do.
Yeah, right, that's right.
But we are also aware as a teaching staff, and I've discussed this with them many times, we're also aware as a teaching staff that when the kids come back, there's going to be a review period. We're going to have to go back and update some kids because we're all going to be coming in from a different perspective. A kid that has internet that's on every day doing stuff is going to come in with way more information than a kid that doesn't have internet and has been just getting paper copies. Or, honestly, the kid that has not touched this, and we have some that have not. So when we come back, we are fully prepared to implement a review period where the kids are going to all get caught up to where they're supposed to be. We don't expect everybody to come back with everything that they need. It's just not possible.
Okay.
And I can say for the elementary, like our biggest hurdle is if a kid is from a family that can help them at home. And so we've had lots of conversations about parents who are probably still working, kids who might be staying with grandparents or friends or neighbors during the day. So we've told them to really limit the amount of time that a kid needs to be on a computer, because it's not fair. Even though a school day, is 6.5, 7 hours, it's not fair to ask a first grader to sit there, and they just can't do it. That wouldn't be feasible. So we've limited the time that we're asking of them to spend each day. But a big part of this is going to be if there's a family member who is working with them at home. And you've worked in our district long enough to realize, we have some great families that will do it and they will go above and beyond. And we have families that just are not going to be able to do that. So we'll just do the best we can with it. And like Brian said, when we come back in the fall, we'll deal with it.
Yeah,
And then
we've
some of the parents are saying they don't have access to the internet. Can't we have hotspots in our areas just like Bellwood did? So there's no excuse for that one.
Eric, are you going to chime in?
There are certain areas in our district that doesn't matter what we do, they're not going to have internet in it. But we did look into, and we're not sure that the hotspots will be functional for what we need. But some of the districts are letting them come into the parking lot to have
That's
internet
right.
access. But I'm not sure that people. We did that survey. Our teachers did a great job, but they surveyed how many kids had technology and internet access, and we were shocked at how many had internet and technology. We were expecting the number to be insurmountable for us to achieve this, but we're working with them, and some of them saying no matter what you do, it's not going to help us. So we're addressing them as we can. Just back to the curriculum aspect, we started in March, remediation and review. And then April 20th, we're rolling out new content to students. To the students. I can tell you that that new content is recommended by the state, but it's not happening in all districts. So we are very pleased that we've been able to get to the point we're ready to go new content, because a lot of districts are not in that position right now. So I think we're much farther along than many school districts in our area with the technology, with the internet, and the new content coming out on Monday.
And I have one more question. Some of the teachers have gone online and tried to download things, and it's taking forever because they don't have enough speed. Now, to upgrade, it costs them, Patty Kimberly called in, and to upgrade hers, it was $10 a month more. I think we're supporting the students. I think we need to support the teachers, and if they have to upgrade, I think we need to put this $10 out for the next 2 months.
Yeah, that's the first I heard that. I haven't heard from any of the teachers through the teachers are having staff meetings. Has that been addressed in any of our staff meetings, Brian or Kate?
We've talked about it, but if you go that route, you're probably going to have 100 teachers asking you to reimburse for internet. So I don't know if that's a decision you want to make.
Well, I thought only the $10 difference.
Well, but then you have, I can tell you, Mrs. Westrick's paying $90 because she had to pay to upgrade hers.
Was her difference not $90 or $90 for the bill? This is just the difference.
Well, but she didn't have it before, and now she needs to pay that now. So I don't know. That's a board decision, but just kind of laying it out there that if you do for one, you may want to do for all.
I can tell you that in our high school faculty meetings, it hasn't come up at all. I haven't had a single teacher say anything about having trouble with their own internet. I mean, I haven't brought it up, but it also hasn't come up, and I think if they were having trouble, they would have told me.
We're not trouble in this household. Nicole Turner has had Zoom meetings and everything. We don't have trouble with that, and the download speed is anywhere between 25 and 28 megs. But whenever she turns around and tries to do her ECRI lessons and stuff like that, whenever she goes to upload them, it takes anywhere probably close to almost a day to turn around and upload if it doesn't time out. And our upload speeds are only at like 1.5. That's what Patty Kimberly called in. To get a better upload speed, it would be $10 extra a month. But in some of the other places, like Shannon King has turned around and upload. I think she lives in Evansburg. She doesn't have a problem with that speed, so she can turn around and upload that. Then whenever Lincola can do it, if she comes up there during, on Tuesdays and Fridays to turn around and pick up school lunches, I don't know if she can turn around and upload those or not, but that's just one of the problems. You can turn around and upload stuff at the school in less than 10 minutes, where at home here, we're doing it, it takes 24 hours, if not longer.
Right.
I see no reason why staff members, I mean, especially ones that are living close by, couldn't pop into the parking lot and use the internet to upload things. I don't know that we want to open that to the public right now, but I don't see
No,
any
yeah.
reason why. Like Nicola, when she comes up to get lunches, she could pop in and, you know, park and
Into the
upload whatever.
parking lot or into the school?
Well, I think she could probably do it from the parking lot. I know I have access to the internet from the parking lot.
Eric, is that true?
Depending on where you sit, yeah, there's access points all through the halls and stuff, and I know there's one, like, when you go to the main area for the Viking entrance by the high school gym, there's one sitting right in there. So most places, if you park outside, just the windows, you would get signal, yes.
Eric, would that be cell phone service or would that be Wi-Fi?
That would be Wi-Fi.
Okay. 'Cause I know whenever I was coaching football, all I had up there was cell phone service with very, very little Wi-Fi.
Yeah, I mean, up towards the football field, you would lose it, but if you were down near the building, near like the lobbies, there are access points in there that you would be able to get a few bars.
Well, you wouldn't have Wi-Fi service unless you had the password, I assume.
Well, right now, I have guest open on, so if people do need.
I mean, like when he was here for football season, people
Yeah,
were able to log on.
Yeah, he would have had,
She would have obviously had the password, she works here.
yes, yeah.
I have one thing, Amy, I thought maybe you could just briefly tell us, about the legislation that was just signed about the, electronic meetings, just so everyone's clear that this is, you are allowed to do.
Yes, Act 15 was signed by the governor yesterday, and it makes a modification to allow for a quorum of individuals to participate in meetings but not be in the same room. This policy was generated prior to that act being signed by the governor, but your policy is, if you pass it this evening, would also be consistent with Act 15.
Okay, anybody else have anything under discipline and curriculum?
Yes, I have one more question on this. I
Go ahead,
thought
Dale.
they weren't to grade any of the assignments. And then all through this document, it says they have to earn at least a 70% to get credit. I thought it was just, should it be 70% of the work they would do? Or, I mean, how do you get around that then? Because it's for the pass fail. And I thought no one was to have a grade.
I will
They-
defer to Mr. Stacy on that.
It is pass fail, and we are pretty much making it a 70% kind of gives a number to it, but it is based on, we're going to base it as teachers on a good faith effort to get the work that they need done.
And do the students know that grade that they're getting?
They'll know if, I mean, the teachers are gonna be bugging them to, finish their stuff, so they're gonna know if they're not doing anything. And then if it gets to the point where they don't do anything, it comes to me, and then I'm gonna start bugging them about it. But like I said, if they make a good faith effort, I don't think there's any teacher that is going to fail them. We've made that pretty clear that we're not gonna have that fight with parents. Also, the marking period, as far as grades that count towards GPA and towards graduation, we ended that at the end of the third marking period. So any classes that, or any grades that were already in by March 13th, which is the day we shut down, those are the grades that count as far as their GPA valedictorian, class rank, any of that kind of stuff. So this pass-fail will not affect that at all. The point is to try to make kids feel some sort of accountability to get them to do what is in their best interest.
What about the bonus points that are being talked about? I don't think they've settled on any of that, but how does that play in?
Kate, do you want to address that?
Yeah, so far that's just a discussion in the elementary school. And again, that's just an incentive to get kids interested and involved and keep them participating. We have settled on a maximum of 3 points total on their grades. So if a student after the first 3 marking periods had a 92 in math and they've gone above and beyond, they've done everything that their teacher has asked them to do in math, they could possibly get 3 points added to that grade and end the year with a 95 in math. We researched this quite a bit. A lot of the other school districts are doing something similar where, you know, kids not going to be hurt regardless of what they do or don't do for 4th marking period under this situation, but they can improve their situation with those bonus points. Elementary is also giving school-wide positive behavior tickets, so kids can earn those tickets, which they get really excited about, and can win prizes, which are things that have either been donated or we are actually planning on. Since PTO didn't have to pay for any field trips this year, the PTO is willing to go out to our local businesses and purchase things like gift cards and different things that we can give away as prizes. So that will help our kids and help our local businesses.
So those extra bonus points will go on your overall grade.
Correct. For that subject. Mm-hmm.
Have any high school students that were on the verge of passing, not passing at the end of the 3rd marking period, that would have been able to pull themselves up potentially in the 4th marking period to pass? Do we have any situations like that? Because if it's pass-fail and they were failing at the end of the 3rd quarter, then, well, what are we doing with that?
Well, that's what I just asked Mr. Sabato if I should discuss. But basically, what we have put out a pass-fail or a fail list of kids. And my suggestion, and we haven't put any of this into the plan yet, but my suggestion is that we go through that list on a case-by-case basis, decide if we can offer some bonus points to those kids that are on the bubble. And I mean, there are some kids that maybe didn't do what they should up to that point, that are way back, that may not benefit from that. But kids that are on the bubble, if we could offer them some sort of point similar to what Mrs. Batcher was saying, and be able to push them over the top.
Yeah, and I would think that's very fair, because if you take somebody that's on the edge and they still had another marking period to try to get themselves over the hump, this certainly isn't their fault that they're in this situation.
Now,
and so if they were doing everything, doing all their assignments and really working hard, I think that'd be a very fair way of handling it.
the other thing that happened is when we had the teachers calculate their grades at the end of the 3rd marking period, we also instructed them to be generous. That if a kid was really close, to give them those extra couple points to knock them up, assuming that they had that extra 2 weeks, that they would have done something to gave them that benefit of the doubt. So
They appeared on track. Okay.
exactly. So now, but I do think it's going to be worth a meeting between myself, Mr. Ragulik, Mrs. Kozak, Mr. Kozak, to go down case by case with those kids, and then contact their teachers and see, if we can help them out.
I mean, ultimately, we want students to be successful, but there are some who haven't done the necessary work to be successful, and we're not going to give gifts. We are going to help.
If you
and
were coming
assist.
into the 4th quarter and there wasn't any way you were going to pull it out,
Right.
I agree.
Right.
We shouldn't be just, let's just move on so we don't have to mess with it. Obviously those students weren't able to make it at that point, so, yeah. But people that were on the edge, I think if they had a good chance at moving themselves into the pass range, then that would
Yeah, that would be my intention.
This is very consistent with a lot of districts in the region, and a lot of districts are still asking for assistance and input from the state, and the state's hesitant to tell you exactly how to do it. They're letting the local agencies come up with their plan. So a lot of this, they put in black and white and say, this is what you're gonna do, but they're giving us the ability to solve some problems, and I appreciate that,
Yeah,
so.
that's how it should be. Okay. Anybody else have any questions under discipline?
I have another one. Okay. I know this is a hard time for the teachers, and I think we have to give them all the support we can. And I'd like to see the district pay for the website, Teachers Pay Teachers. Because they have,
So Theo, we are in the process of getting, Teachers Pay Teachers is actually offering a free subscription right now to
okay.
teachers. So your daughter actually pointed it out to me and sent me in the right direction. So we have started that process. Now it's limited. They say it's free, but each teacher would only have 4 free items they could download, and those items would be less than $15 of value. So, but I will talk to the teachers and see if they feel that that's not enough. And we've always done, if they run an idea past me, they want to get something through that Teachers Pay Teachers. Basically, they usually pay for it themselves, and then we reimburse for that. We've always kind of done that, but if you feel that's important, we can certainly continue to do that. But we've started the process. Eric sent our spreadsheet of all the staff, and I included, Brian, I didn't tell you this, but I did include the high school staff in this as well. So they'll each get 4 free items. And then if they need something above and beyond that, we can just tell them, run it past us first, but they can buy it and then put in for reimbursement.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question there, Andy? Mr. Stacy, with the seniors, I think one of the requirements was they had to have 1 gym credit and either 1 science or math to graduate. But with the other students, sometimes they learn, like, each 9 weeks is a different block or a different class. So did we introduce, for example, if they were supposed to start something new 4th 9 weeks as part of their block, did they introduce that new in the 4th 9 weeks, or under the new curriculum stuff, or did they continue with whatever their block class was in the 3rd 9 weeks?
What we did was, when we were still in the review and enrich stage, we left those people with their 3rd 9 weeks classes. When we moved, when we moved into new instruction, all those teachers should have invited their 4th 9 week students to join their classes for new instruction. We felt that we were reviewing and the teachers had never had those kids yet. There was nothing to review. So we left them in the 3rd 9 weeks. But now that we're doing new instruction, they're all moving into their should have invited their 4th 9 weeks rosters into their classes.
Okay, and it does. And then I guess my other question is so if the student that needed, like, for example, needed at least 1 science credit or 1 math credit to move forward, you have, like if they took 2 science classes, I'll give my son as an example, took a half a credit for I think it was astronomy in the first 2 9 weeks, and then was doing meteorology or vice versa, I don't know, in the 3rd and the 4th 9 weeks. So that still would count as a pass fail as long as they do that particular class, is what you're saying, under the pass fail, and that would still promote them as a senior or as a junior into the next group.
Yeah, they would still get their full, well, in that case it'd be a half a credit. Yeah, which would give them what they originally signed up for credit is what they're going to get as long as they have passed that class up to the 3rd 9 weeks.
And how are we handling the gym classes? Are they doing something online, or what are they doing? Because they need that as well to graduate.
They're running in place.
Yeah. Unfortunately,
Maybe.
Unfortunately, phys ed is a little difficult difficult. It's kind of on the honors system. So actually, and I gave out a packet this morning, for a student to do his gym, and basically it gives a suggested exercise routine and then a spreadsheet to log what they've done. You know, and that's really all we can do. We obviously can't go home and making sure they're doing it. They can write anything they want in that log.
Can we hook up into their Fitbits? Like, can we download their
Maybe.
Fitbits?
I'm sure somebody has track of that
Probably.
stuff. Yeah.
Somebody's tracking that.
But, I mean, so the gym teachers are doing what they can do, short of going home and making their legs move. So we're gonna give them credit.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Anybody have anything else under discipline and curriculum?
I have one more for the continuum education plan. I was curious if there's a standard platform for the online learning. I know there's a lot of people using Google Classroom, and I've heard of Class Dojo. I was just wondering if there was a standard platform or if they were using different things.
So I'm allowing the elementary teachers to decide. Most of them are using Google Classroom, but for example, first grade was already really strong in Class Dojo and the parents were already used to that. So I allowed them to continue that format. Now, some of them have decided to use both because there are some limitations to Class Dojo, but we didn't want to reinvent the wheel. If the teacher and parent was already used to one format, we gave them that option. But I think most teachers at this point are using Google Classroom.
Yeah, in the high school, I'd say it's the same thing. Most of our teachers are using Google Classroom. But again, like Kate said, if they were familiar with something and they could launch their curriculum faster because they knew how to work it, so be it. We wanted them to be able to be comfortable and do the best they could.
There's no mandate from the Department of Education as to what platforms can be used now.
Yeah, we left it open-ended and put a bunch of different platforms in our plan that we were comfortable as long as it's meeting our needs. Yeah.
But
Anything else under?
well, no, in that platform, like online on Google Classrooms, I mean, does every teacher have like the administration in those so they could go in and look at those classrooms?
We're in the process of that. I can't say that I'm in every classroom yet. And technically we just started the new learning yesterday. So, but that is our intention, to be a part of every classroom.
Anybody else? Discipline and curriculum.
If I can just add one more thing about that Follett quote, nobody asked, but just to bring up that number 5, that is actually 2 years worth of consumables. Our Journeys subscription that was originally purchased through KTO was up, and so we had to make the decision whether we wanted a whole new reading series or not. So this was actually the cheapest and most effective. And now that this all has happened with online learning, I'm really super glad that we went this way. But this will give us the next 2 years to stay with our Journeys reading program for the elementary. And then before that 2 years is up, we'll have to start exploring, and we already have started exploring different options for a reading program and make a decision then. But that will last us for 2 years.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments on discipline and curriculum?
We had, when we got to administration, there are some other components of the COE we were going to cover, so this kind of took the place of some of our administrative reports. So we were planning in administrative to cover a lot of these, so.
Saving time. I like it.
Okay.
Okay, anything? Mr. Stacy just sat down, so does anybody else have a question? We can make him stand up again. Nope. Okay, we're gonna move on to the athletic committee. Mr. Wallstrom, I see nothing on here. Do you have anything? Nope.
Gary?
No, I'm not. Wonderful, thank you, sir.
I'll just say we had to cancel our end of the year coaches meeting, so I'll meet that obligation.
Absolutely. Okay. we'll move into Personnel Committee. Mr. Cree, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Personnel Committee, I'll be looking for a motion or consideration to approve the resignation of Gretchen Keith as a food service employee effective 4/6/2020. Number 2, consideration to approve Daryl Knoll as a district volunteer. And I had another item sent to me earlier today called item 3, consideration to approve the advertisement of the following 2020-2021 vacancies: elementary teacher, English teacher, special education teacher, and athletic trainer. And that is all.
So, does anybody have any questions or comments in
Yeah.
personnel?
Yes, I have a question on number 1. Is the public still in on this meeting?
Yeah?
Yes.
Okay, then,
We're gonna have an executive session at the end of,
okay,
there's
okay.
gonna be nothing in
I'll
the
make the comment
executive-
then. All right.
Okay, that's fine.
And if I could just make a comment on number 3, they're vague because we have to post them internally with our contractual staff till we determine exactly what the opening is. But we want to be prepared to move forward based upon any transition with staff.
Anybody else for Personnel Committee? Questions or comments? Okay, having none heard. Building and Grounds, Mr. Menzer, I see nothing on the agenda. Do you have anything personally for Building and Grounds for us?
No, I don't, not for this evening, nothing more.
Okay, thank you much. All right, we'll move into Finance then. Dubler, can you help us out?
Yep. So we're looking for consideration on the following items. Number 1, consideration to approve treasurer's reports dated 3/31/20, the blue copies attached. Number 2, consideration to approve accounts paid totaling $1,075,265.38, the pink copies attached. And I have one new item, number 3, consideration to approve a 36-month commercial energy sales agreement with Constellation New Energy commencing 7/1/21. And that's all.
Commercial energy, I assume that's electricity?
Yeah.
Mr. Westover?
Yes, what that is, when I get to my presentation, I was going to talk about that, but I'll talk about it now. The Premier Power, they are a company just like HDH that goes out and gets rates, and there are go-between between us and the power company. So what he does, they go and check all the pricing, and that's who we're with now, Premier Power. And so they go and keep track of the prices. The prices for electricity right now is lower than what we've paid for the last 10 years. So he said it's probably a good time to go ahead and renew a contract and tie in for 3 years. Now we are still under our current contract until June of next year, but he can tie us in at a lower rate than we're paying now for 3 years beyond that.
I would make a suggestion that the school buy some oil, right now, because it was minus $36 a barrel yesterday, so they'd actually pay us to heat the school. So.
I actually made some phone calls to see if we could maybe prepay, but no, they wouldn't let us.
I'll bet you they wouldn't. I mean, that's, just on the side, the world is upside down when oil was minus $36 a barrel at the trading, end of trading day. That was unbelievable. It sounds neat for the gas tank, but it's not good.
No, anyways, the savings with the energy is about, is it $5,800 a year over 3 years? So every dollar counts.
Oh, absolutely.
So,
well, actually, the rate that he gave us in March was like 0.0493 cents per kilowatt. It actually went up a little bit to today it was 0.0515. It moves on a daily basis, hourly basis.
I'm sure.
Our current contract is 0.0536. So anything under that, we win. And so far, it's still under that.
Okay. Anything else under finance? Any other questions or comments?
On page 2 of the pink sheet, number 7.
Pink sheet.
Yeah, pink sheet. It's page 2. 74880. It has a tuition there for over 9,000. Is that for one student? Is that for a month? Is that a year? I haven't noticed this before. I thought that was a lot of tuition.
Mr. Magolick, how many students do we have at Maracay in Lakemont?
We have 2 currently.
So it's for 2 then.
And how, would that be each month it's for 2? I mean, it's like 9,000, be like 5,000 per month then?
Correct.
Okay.
Mr. Westover, is that a monthly payment to them, or is that a quarterly payment? What is that, sir?
I believe that's a monthly. I don't have the bills in front of me, but I believe that's just a month. I don't think they skipped a month or anything, so I believe that's just a month.
Okay.
Okay.
Other questions in finance? Okay, having heard no additional questions, I think we'll move into our administrative reports. Mrs. Batcher, do you have anything else for us this evening?
Just a few things, just to say how much effort we've really been pouring into our district Facebook page and also the elementary PTO pages. We probably post daily resources on there for parents and students, lots of different ideas of different virtual tours, museum tours, all kinds of things they can do at home, and also public announcements, even simple things about the new, regulation to wear masks, different things like that that we can put out that would be of interest to our Glendale families. So that's been going really well. It's been really growing, lots and lots of new faces on there following those 2 pages. So that's been a really valuable resource for us to get information out quickly. Our website is great, but it's not immediate. So this is, Facebook is a really nice way to post immediately. And you can do it throughout the day and get people the information that you need to get to them. Just wanted to point out that Eric was really fabulous about getting us ThinkPads ready to loan out to students. Like Mr. DeSabato had mentioned, we had each classroom teacher call their homeroom for the elementary, and for the high school, I believe it was their advisory teachers that called each and every student individually to find out what they needed as far as internet and devices. So over the last 2+ weeks, during these lunch distributions, we've been handing out dozens of ThinkPads to students and families, and they've been really, really grateful. So that's gone really well. I feel really good about that. We've not denied anyone if they tell us they need one. Some families we even gave them 2. If they have 3, 4, 5 kids at home that are working, then we've given them a couple different ThinkPads to work on. So, and I think Mr. Stacy can speak for the high school, but I think in elementary we're down to about 10 students that don't have internet or a device. So that's a lot better than 375 or however many we originally thought it was going to be. So those 10 kids we have connections with. We are either handing them a packet during lunches, mailing them packets, emailing parents what they need. And then some teachers, one of the 3rd grade teachers told me today, she's doing weekly phone calls just to check in with her student since she doesn't have that ability to be on Google Classroom. So she's actually teaching her over the phone and working with her. So teachers really are going above and beyond. They've been doing an amazing job. And I can say, even from my point of view, and I'm sure from the teacher point of view, some people might look at this working from home and think, we have it really easy. These teachers do not have it easy. Even Charlie was telling me today about Jody. Like, they are working from the crack of dawn till late at night. And Mr. Gallagher, I'm sure, is saying the same thing in his home. So it is definitely not an easy thing. It's probably a lot more work than if we had been, in our classrooms. So the teachers really are to be commended for all the work that they are doing and really keeping a connection with kids and families. The only other thing is that we've been doing a really nice job cleaning out all the elementary desks. Maintenance was a huge help with that. But as far as getting those things to the families, we're just about there. We're almost completely cleaned out in the elementary. So parents, we gave the parents that one day to come in. Many of them did. And then parents who were not able to come in that particular day, again, we've been handing out the students' belongings during a lunch distribution. So just about everybody has everything that they personally owned or any consumable workbooks that we could possibly give them. We've been giving those out as well. So elementary's pretty much taken care of in that aspect.
How many are watching?
Thank you very much.
At the meeting?
Mr. Stacy, you have anything left for us, sir?
Well, yeah, just a couple of things. First of all, I also want to commend our staff. You know, anytime you see these, we have something like this that's new, you always see complaints and things like that, but I will say that I have seen very few. And that goes to the staff and how they've been able to reach out to kids. And like Mrs. Batcher said, they actually called every single kid in the district and got a hold of, I would say, 99% of them. And they really have been working hard. They contact me and ask questions when they need to. We've had a few meetings, but honestly, it's running way smoother than I could have hoped. So, and that's a tribute to them and their hard work. I want to say that we're down to about 10 kids as well that do not have internet or devices. And actually, anybody that needed devices has gotten them. If they don't have internet, obviously, they don't need a device. But we are down to about the same thing. We are looking at a locker clean out coming up here soon where we are going to schedule students by grade level to come in. They're not coming in the building. We're going to do it essentially kind of like we did the lunch handout, where we actually are, the custodians are working really hard, and they're going to clean out these lockers, put everything in bags, label them by their locker number, and then we're going to have people come by grade and hand it off just like we've been doing lunches. So that is the plan. We're going to see exactly how long the custodial staff can get the lockers cleaned out before we publish that kind of thing and when we're going to do it. But that is the plan, to get the lockers cleaned out. And then we're talking to teachers about a time when they can come in and close down their classrooms and do all that stuff. So that stuff is in the works as far as how to close down for the year. We launched a Google Classroom for kids. We've only rolled it out to this year's juniors, next year's seniors for scheduling. So we are right now trying to make sure that we are on top of getting kids scheduled for classes next year. And it is in the form of a Google form, and they ask questions back and forth, and we can get them what they need for their classes next year. Like I said, we rolled it out to the seniors, or to next year's seniors, and we're going to work on our way down. So we are moving forward with planning for next year as well. We have a couple of things to talk about. As far as, you know, we've had some ideas about proms and graduation ceremonies. You know, people have been asking questions, and I sent out a letter last week to all senior parents just to kind of assure them that we have not forgotten them, that we don't know exactly what's going to happen, but that's something, to the best of our ability, we will do something for them. Now, I'm not saying that we can't. It all depends on what the governor allows us to do and what the regulations are, but we haven't forgotten them, and we are thinking about ways to give them that time. And I would, if any of you have some ideas, I could share with you the ideas that we have come up with, but any of you have ideas on ways that we can fulfill this important thing for these kids. Graduation, we've had ideas such as having the kids come in one family at a time, filming them, doing their graduation, putting together a video montage and sending it out, in addition to having like a parade of seniors in downtown Coalport. So where they can still social distance, they can still get their recognition. We've talked about, I know that we've had people contact drive-in theaters. We haven't heard back from them yet. We've talked about doing something on the football field where people can sit far apart in the bleachers and have some sort of a ceremony there. There have been ideas like that floated. If anybody, I'm not going to go into all of them. We don't have that kind of time. But if anybody has any suggestions or you want to talk about it, please let me know and we can go into that. As far as prom goes, we have kids that have been asking about prom. Again, it depends on when we're allowed to gather again. If we're allowed to gather again, it probably would be something we would do here. Venues are kind of a problem at this point because nobody knows what to book.
Well, everybody's gonna be trying to rebook their venues, so I think anything that's done with prom will end up being here.
Exactly.
I think that's, that much I think is safe to say.
Right.
I just don't think there's gonna be any venues available. Weddings, all these other parties and things that people have had to put off. The venues are gonna be snapped up. It's gonna be well into the fall, you know, and my assumption is, you know, we're probably talking June, July to do something for these guys.
Now, the one thing I would like to do as far as graduation goes, and I don't know whether this is in our plan or anything, is about graduating the kids officially on the 28th. Because we do have students that are heading off to the military, heading off to college. And so officially, on paper, they would have graduated on the day that we said they were going to graduate, and then hold a ceremony down the road.
Well, and, you know, I'll just throw this out, perhaps we could do a Zoom meeting or something to this effect where all the seniors themselves would get online and we could pronounce them graduates just to make that official at that moment, even though that wouldn't be their graduation ceremony, that would ink it so that they could move on with their college, whatever they were doing, and we could get their diplomas out to them at that point, and then later on we could do, obviously, the ceremony and all that.
And kids that could attend, you know, and ones that were away, you know, they'll be on the new thing then.
Because there may be some of them that are gonna do maybe classes over the summer or something, I don't know. But, yeah, I think that would be, we can kick that around and maybe they don't need to do anything like that, but I think you're right, that needs to be addressed.
Any other, I mean, I kind of went through the curricular stuff that we're doing. Does anybody have any questions or anything about that, or any of the things that I talked about here?
I think we should probably put together a group of board members that are interested in doing this, as well as our senior advisors that work with our seniors every year for graduation. Mr. Yeckley, I believe, is one of them.
Mr. Yeckley and Mr. Patura.
There you go. So have them together, perhaps representatives from the student class, maybe the class president, something like that, to get together. We could do a Zoom meeting. I mean, certainly we're not going to be able to make a decision on this. Certainly not this month. It's going to be the earliest would be possibly next board meeting in May. Probably going to be in June, I would think, almost, till we can make the decision, just based on, we have to see what the governor says. But I think a small group could maybe get together a couple of times to kick around ideas.
Virtually.
And virtual. Yes. Yeah, a virtual meeting, and you know, perhaps, you know, we get some input from some of the seniors to see what things they would like to see, or get a flavor for that. Perhaps we, you know, come up with a few ideas and send out a questionnaire to the students and saying, hey, if you had your druthers, would you rather do a big Zoom internet graduation, or would you rather be here, even if it meant that there would only be a limited number of people that were allowed to be here with you, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
that might be just thoughts. Thoughts. Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Stacy before I let him sit down again? Okay, sit down, Mr. Stacy. Thank you so much. Yep. All right, Mr. Kozak.
Can you hear me?
You can.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I just can't see myself. I'm like, yeah. No. Anyhow.
You're looking really good.
All right. Glad to hear that. So one thing that we've been talking about extensively is senior recognition. You know, obviously these students are missing out on a lot. All students are, but in particular our seniors. So we're looking at some different options to kind of recognize each senior individually, kind of acknowledge like what their plans are moving forward, that type of thing. So one of the things that we had discussed was doing like a senior spotlight, where we take, you know, a couple seniors a day, get them on our Facebook account, get them on our Instagram account to where, just like a nice little, for lack of better, tribute to each one. So that's something that's going to be in the works and hopefully up and coming here in the next couple of weeks.
Excellent. I think that's a great idea. Okay. Anything else, Mr. Kozak?
Nope, that's it.
Okay,
We also thought we'd use the newsletter to focus on our seniors a little bit more, because we're not gonna have a whole lot of content. So we talked with, our staff here about taking a big portion of the next newsletter to do the student spotlights instead of just a class picture and scholarship, is targeting each individual student in some way, shape, or form in our newsletter.
Very good. All right, we'll move into our maintenance report. Mr. Chilcote.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Like Mr. Stacy said, we're going to start cleaning the lockers out tomorrow and getting everything ready for the kids to come get their stuff out of the hallway lockers and the gym locker rooms also. We've been getting caught up on a lot of maintenance stuff, and this has really helped us out a lot. We've been getting caught up on painting things that we've been not able to get to over the last few summers, and just doing plumbing jobs and electrical jobs and all kinds of stuff like that. We're been working outside. I've been working on the outdoor lighting around the buildings and stuff, and I got some new lights coming for that. I just ordered them today, and so we've been really getting a lot of stuff done. And now, we're mowing grass now between the snowflakes, but we're getting caught up on everything. So they said about maybe having the teachers come in a couple weeks and getting the stuff put away in the rooms for the summer, and then we can get started on our summer stuff. And so we've been hard at it.
Excellent. Thank you, sir.
Yep, that's it.
Okay, Mr. Magula.
Yes, sir. Good evening, everybody. As everybody else, we are moving with planned instruction. Our teachers are delivering academic materials online and through packets. I am assigned into all their classrooms. I will say it's a lot of emails daily. I have to stay on top of it because I get to see every teacher's video, instructional videos, all their new assignments that they provide. And what's really, I find to be neat, the comments that the kids are writing back and forth to the teachers. Seem like the kids are really engaged and doing the best of what we can as of right now also. Moving forward, our new evaluations and our re-evaluations are on hold as of now, along with extended school year, and letters were sent home. And once we get more information on that, it will be updated as that comes out. We still have our timeline, so our special ed teachers and everybody we are still holding our IEP meetings by virtual meetings, either through Zoom meetings, Google meetings, or just a phone conference. And once the IEPs and all the paperwork is done, it's emailed to myself and Mrs. Oshel, my right-hand lady. She's doing an awesome job there for me and keeping track of it, all the timelines. And so we're still in the game and above our timelines here in that aspect of it. We're still providing our procedure rights and safeguards through email or through the mail. So everything is taken care of in that aspect. We are also still providing OT and PT through teletherapy through Camco. and speech is also being provided through packets and constant communication with the students and parents. Directors of special education, we have meetings weekly, once a week, to just see what new information is out there and what other school districts are doing. And we are right in the middle and ahead at some points of. We're also holding special ed teacher virtual conferences every Thursday, just to stay on top of things and communicate back and forth, making sure everybody's on the same page. Constant emails, constant communication. I think the phone call home there goes a long way with keeping contact with the family and students as of right now. And just to conclude, I'm just proud to be on this administrative team here at Glendale. Thanks to the faculty and staff, they're doing absolute great job, in my opinion, and a special thanks to the community members and our students. That's what everybody here is doing it for. So, and we're all in this together. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Let's see, Mr. Westover, anything else on the budget?
Thank you. Yes, I will be giving the budget presentation here in a little bit when we get to that part of the meeting. So I'll kind of hold off till then. I'll give a little recap of where we're at in this budget year and then go right into the budget presentation when we do that.
Okay. Mr. Frank, anything for good of the order, sir?
I will be very brief. In short, tech department staying busy. The website is on its way. It's being worked on. Aside from that, I just talked to Rosemary about E-rate for this year, so that's still on track, and we're staying busy, but everything is coming along well, so.
Excellent. Thank you. Mr. DeSabato.
Yeah, I just have a couple of things. First of all, the continuity of education plan, that's it's been a collaborative effort by our admin team, and it's a requirement that we have upon the school to put our plan of action in place. This is a working document, and if things change, you know, we're asking you to approve this tonight, but as things change, or if we're learning along the way, or we're going to make changes to how we're doing things, it'll be included in this document. The document is submitted to PDE already, and then it has to be approved here tonight. It's posted on our website as well for families, and I've had some conversations with parents about the document, but you know, it's they gave us the template, and then we're trying to work to put together a plan that's going to meet the needs of all of our students. So it's really important. It's like the end of the year date, our graduation date has got to be in there. Our calendar is going to stay the same, and I just want to, we'll talk about that in a second. And the grading is a really important issue and component about this in this plan as well. I just take a couple seconds. You know, this group, this admin team that's here with us tonight and online, they've all done a tremendous job in this unprecedented time. You know, we're working daily to improve instruction, to communicate with staff, preparing technology. We're trying to recognize student accomplishments and staff accomplishments along the way. And the thing about this is everybody thinks everybody's home and this is an easy process. It's not. They're longer days for our teachers. They're longer days for our admin team. It's like if we were working when you left and you closed the light, the door, and turned off the light, you might be done for the day. And that's not the case. We're communicating via text, Zoom meetings, got a Hangout app on our phones where we can have virtual meetings throughout the day. So the entire admin team has done a great job, and it's been part of this whole process. So it's really important to recognize that group. They've done a great job. And I want to recognize other people as well. You know, our maintenance staff has continued to do a great job keeping the building clean, getting ahead of projects. You know, when we had this when we left here on March 13th, they've done a great job getting into every room, deep cleaning, fogging classroom, disinfecting, and continue to do that for us every day because we are in the building. Our cafeteria staff is here, and we're doing a great job serving lunches to the community. Today we serve 250 bag lunches, which include 4 breakfasts, 4 lunches. So 2,000 meals went out of this building today from our cafeteria staff. We've got volunteer teachers and staff and administrators and aides coming in to help bag these lunches every day. We take them out to the lobby, and the cars pull in, and we're loading them up. So we're giving out 2,000 meals on Tuesday, and roughly about 2,000 meals on Friday for the members of our community. And it's tremendous to see the volunteers come in. Our cafeteria staff are doing all the prep work, then our teachers, aides, and other employees are coming in to pack. And so it's really impressive to see people show up here and prepare this and help us get that done. And the admin team is here throughout the week, and we're passing out the lunches consistently on Tuesdays and Fridays. And so we're in here at least 2 to 3 times a week throughout the course of the day. Our central office has adapted really well to working at home. We've made accommodations so that people can remote into their computers for payroll and bill paying. And Patty's here consistently doing a great job helping us along the way. And so I think it's important to recognize the admin team, maintenance, cafeteria staff, central office, and also our teachers. Our teachers, we didn't expect anything like this, nor did anybody. And so we had 1 week where we closed on March 13th, and all of us were thinking, will this be a short time? Will it be a week? Will it be 2 weeks? None of us knew what to expect. And after that first week, our teachers rolled up their sleeves with the help of our admin team. They've worked together, they've learned from one another, and to put an educational plan together for our students that we serve. It's not perfect. It's not. And it hasn't been easy, but it's getting better every day. I can tell you it's getting better. I'm proud of their work and their efforts and all of their accomplishments, and I think that it's going to help us all as a district to be able to do this moving forward. So I just wanted to take a couple of seconds and do that. There were other topics I wanted to talk about, but I think some of them have been looked at already. But, please know we're looking at the personal items to be picked up. Kindergarten registration's an issue with us. We're working on a plan, and that'll be online or through paper. Scheduling students for next year, we're working on that. Report cards, we're working on that, getting them printed and get them out to the families in the near future. And the grading. Really, one important thing is school calendar will stay the same. We approved this calendar and on 4/9. So the recommendation is that we will end instruction on May 28th, would have been the last day of our school calendar year. The state has eliminated all requirements of 180-day instruction, and so schools are keeping their calendar as is. I just take this opportunity to say there are some districts, like there were 5 days where our teachers were at home, and they weren't actually in the building. And some districts are considering, we have to be upfront, that may require their teachers to come back in for 5 days at the end of this to catch up. My recommendation, and I hope that the board would support that, is our teachers have gone so far above and beyond that I'd like to count those days. They're doing so much more that we're not expecting them to come back in at 5 days at the end of school to do something or to do something at the end of June. That I think that it would be a wash that when we get to the last day of instruction, that we would not expect them to come and provide those 5 days. But I just need to be upfront. Some districts may ask their teachers to come in, and some may not, because they know the amount of time and energy that went into this at all. And so you don't want the perception like they got paid for something that they weren't here on those days, but they are making up for it in the work they're doing outside. And I just have to make that point to the board tonight.
Is that something that we would need to approve as a board motion to have some respect, or is that just something admin can take care of?
Well, in terms of discussing it, I think if you're going to go into significant detail, my preference would be to discuss in an executive session, and then, depending upon the outcome, pass a motion to give a directive on what the outcome would be.
Okay. Then I suggest we have our executive session in between the work session and regular monthly board meeting, as we usually do.
Is that possible, Eric, from a technology standpoint?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, if we just announce, I think announce that we will be back.
Okay.
Yeah, because I mean, we could take it off of, YouTube Live and shut that down, and it would go away. You can do your executive session, and then what could happen is, like, I mean, if you want the admin team back or whoever, they would just have to log back
Call
in
back in.
at a certain time or something.
Okay.
We could communicate with admin via text, say, get back on the meeting if you have a question or something like that.
Okay.
For the public, would we need to give them a drop dead time that we will be back in session for the regular board meeting? I would think that we should.
There's only one person viewing. The only person viewing is the media, we think. We are able to track who's actually watching this meeting, and there's one.
That's what I've been watching on here. I'm not playing around.
So, obviously, we would have to, can she just sit there and look at YouTube till we're back on?
I have contact information
You
for
have
her. I'll
contact
go down and-
information, so you
As soon as you're done, I can.
let her know?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, that's what we'll do then. We'll hold that in between.
Is there any way we can confirm that the only visitor is, our media?
I don't know if we can actually
Can she send an email to that comment link?
Yeah, I'm not sure we can confirm that. It just shows me on the subscriber page how many people are viewing. Max, it was at 2, but it's been up on for the past probably 35 minutes or so.
Diane, if you can hear us and you're out there, and that comment link, there's an email that was there that you could send to comments at
It was
GSD.
comment at gsd1.org.
Comment, I'm sorry.
Yep.
At gsd1.org.
We're asking her to
Yeah.
comment to that so that we know it's her.
Yeah, I just thought if it was her and we knew it, she could send it, and that way we could let her know exactly.
Okay. All right, well, while we're waiting around here, does anybody else have anything? Are you done, Mr. DeSavino?
I'm done, yes.
So we might as well just go ahead and have, Mr. Westover do his thing now. Is that acceptable, Mr. Westover?
Eric, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Can you hear me? Okay. All right, Eric put together a, PowerPoint, so on your screen, he is going to have the pages up, I guess, as I talk about them, so hopefully we'll be on the same screen and the same page at the same time. We'll see what happens here. But yeah, the first thing before I go into budget was the electricity contract that we just talked about. Again, our current rate up through June of next year is 0.0536 per kilowatt hour. And as of today, it's 0.05, I believe it was 0.0512. So anything under 0.0536 is better than what we're doing now. So if you approve to go ahead with that contract, first thing in the morning, I'll get with Premier Power and have them lock us in for 3 additional years. Any questions on that?
Any questions on the power?
No, never.
Okay, moving on, Jeff.
Hold on.
Okay.
You doing that now?
Go ahead. Someone talked.
Yeah, it's Jeff Geller. I said, do you think we should be doing that now with the price of energy turning around and going down?
Well, actually, in March, it was 0.0493 for a while. And the my person at Premier Power that watches the market, he said as soon as they started talking about opening the markets up and getting things going back to normal, he said it started inching up a little by little. So it actually went up, you know, whatever, 0.2 cents or something just in the last week or two.
You say from March to April, it went up a couple tenths.
Yep. Yep.
I didn't know because of the crisis that we're going through, if it would turn around and the bottom would drop out of it or not.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that could very well happen, that we could lose some more potential savings. But at the same time, if we wait and it keeps going up, then we could not get anything. I mean, yeah, it's a gamble, so to speak, but even where it's at now is less than what we've paid over the last 10 years. So that's something you can talk about, but you know, I just wanted to put it out there that it is lower than that.
I don't think we're gonna see a whole bunch of more bottom dropping out of things. I don't think we're gonna see gas going down much more than it is. A lot of these, and I'm sure the utility company works the same way, even though it may cost them less money to generate the electricity, they're gonna hold the line, I think, on dropping rates a whole bunch, because they don't wanna be losing money in the long run, because they know that this cheap energy isn't gonna be here for a whole long time. When the OPEC nations start cutting back their supplies, they're supposed to, I believe in May, that's phased in over the course of a year or two, the energy prices are gonna start going back up again. So they're not gonna have their rates bottomed out, that they're gonna lock us into a 3-year contract at a super low rate when their costs are gonna go back up. I mean, if you look at Sheets, they're not dropping the price of gas much anymore, and it was negative $36 a barrel yesterday, and actually the price of diesel went up 10 cents. So I don't see any reason to hold off on locking this in at this point. I think the potential is actually the opposite. If we wait too much longer, things are gonna start creeping back up again. That's my 2 cents anyway. If anyone else has any commentary, please chime in. Okay, Mr. Westover, go ahead.
Okay, and I believe that's how Lee McCracken, he's from Premier Power. I believe that's what he reiterated to me today. He thinks it's pretty much bottomed out, and if anything, it'll go up, not down. I mean, again, no one has a crystal ball, but I believe that to be right too. Okay, the next thing, and you don't have this page on there because I didn't send it out, but I wanted to talk a couple minutes on where we're at in this year's budget, the 2019-20 budget, before I go into the 2020-21 budget. We're in pretty much through April, so we're 10 months out of 12 through this budget year. So we're 83 1/3% through the 2019-20 budget year. So all things being equal, we should have used up 83 1/3% of our budget. We have used up 75% of our budget. So that's a good thing. So we have an 8% cushion, so to speak. Now, what happens, because the school year does end June 30th, the school fiscal year, but the payroll and the benefits for July and August. Did someone have a question?
It's out. Oh, it's gone. Yep. Okay.
You okay?
Yeah, I was having a little sidebar there for a second, sorry.
No, that's all right. So someone had a question. So yes, so we have an 8% padding, so to speak. We're 8% under our budget so far for this year. Now, again, even though the school fiscal year ends June 30, the payroll for the rest of June, July, and the first half of August, and the benefits, the PPO, the healthcare, et cetera, that gets billed to the 2019-20 school year. So you need that little bit of padding there left over at the end of the year to finish paying out the bills for the 2019-20 budget year. So at this point, I believe expenditure-wise, we're still living within our budget, and I think at the end, we will maybe even have $1 or $2 left. Because if you think about it, since March 13th, we've had some savings in the areas of subs. We haven't had to have any subs in for teachers or maintenance or cafeteria or anything like that. We had a good year with heating, and the prices were under $2.15 a gallon most of the year, and we had a mild winter, so we didn't use up our whole heating budget. Spring sports, we didn't have any umpires to pay. We didn't have any transportation to pay. So there were just a couple of areas where definitely there would be some savings. Now, the big question is on the revenue side, obviously, depending on how long this goes on, the earned income tax, the 1% wage tax, obviously that's going to take a hit of some sort. To what degree, who knows yet, depends how long this goes. So no doubt our earned income tax, our local sales tax, our local services tax is going to take a hit. If it's like, say 3 months, say things still stay closed down 3 months and everyone's furloughed and laid off, 3 months of no EIT, that's a quarter of it. That could amount to $75,000 to $100,000. State funding right now they are saying state funding for 2019-20 is safe. It's still intact. They're going to fund the schools just the same as though school had gone on and none of this ever happened. But come the end of June, early July, when the state starts looking at their numbers, who's to say they won't look back and go, wow, this is worse than we thought, or who knows what. I mean, I don't know that anything is safe or unsafe or on the table or off the table. So hopefully they do keep their word and state funding remains at the same level and they don't decide to change your mind. I saw a webinar about 2 weeks ago.
Funding, Mr. West, are you talking about state funding for the current year, or are you talking about state funding going into next year?
For the current year, for 2019-20. So the way they're saying right now is 2019-20 funding will remain intact. But I was watching this webinar about 2 weeks ago, and it was Nathan Maines from the Pennsylvania School Boards Association, and he was speaking with a representative from somewhere down around Harrisburg, maybe York or Hershey or somewhere down that way. And the representative said, we aren't even having meetings, because he said, obviously the Capitol shut down. So he said, we don't have numbers from March 13th on. But he said, obviously we know they're going to be ugly. So it just kind of scares me come the end of June or July. Of course, they pushed the tax year back to July 15th. So it kind of scares me once they get to the end of June or July, are they going to look and say, ooh, we didn't get the amount of sales tax even that we thought we might, and personal income tax and all that good stuff. So hopefully our state funding does stay intact, but I wouldn't guarantee that. I hope it does. So being said that, we are living within our budget expenditure wise, but where will we end up revenue wise? That's no one knows that. So that's where we are in this year's budget. Like I say, we have about 8% padding. Obviously we will use some of that over summer for payroll and benefits. And hopefully things don't get too bad and aren't shut down a whole lot longer. Our state funding will stay intact and our local funding won't take too big of a hit. But if it does, anything that we save might get chewed up because we'll be getting less revenues. No one knows that yet. So any questions on currently where we're at or anything on that? Okay.
I don't have questions for Mr. Westover so far.
Okay, now Eric, you can put the PowerPoint back up to the page number 1. It says, what is a meal? No, that's not mine.
Is that it?
No, Eric.
Like this.
I only got two total. That one, the other one.
You're on page,
These are the 2000.
Everybody has a hard copy in their packet as well, so.
Got two documents from him. I got this one and I got it.
budget document.
That's the actual budget.
He sent me the budget document, he sent me the last one, there's the other two I got.
So you don't have that in PowerPoint?
No, I only got two emails from you. I got this one, and then I got the budget one, and for the fuel for the electric prices, and that was all I got.
Well, yeah, this doc that didn't even come from me. I didn't send that to you. I don't know where that's. I don't know who sent you this one. That wasn't me.
Did you want to send me that? No, I think I could pop it up there.
Jeff, do you have it handy? Can you email it real quick?
All the board members have it in their packet, and I'm looking at your email, Jeff. I'm sending it to I just sent you something that's 14 pages that he had.
Yeah, I never got a PowerPoint, I apologize.
It's not in a PowerPoint format here. You can look at mine.
Does anybody have one of this?
It's coming to you right now, Eric.
Which document are we looking at?
It's the one that starts, the front page has number 1 to top and it says, what is a meal? What does a meal mean?
Oh, yeah, for the taxes. Okay.
Correct. You want me to move on or wait a second here on Eric?
I just sent it to Eric, so go ahead and go on, and he'll work on it. I just emailed it to him again.
Okay. Okay, so if everyone has their packet there, now we'll start talking about the 2020-21 budget. And a lot of this, actually, to be honest, is for Mr. Galler and Mr. Mincer and Mrs. Stiver. You're kind of the new ones, but most of you been through this 10 times or more with me, so I don't want to bore you to death. So I'm going to kind of go fast over some of these pages, but I feel bad for the newer ones. This isn't a way to learn about your first budget, but it's the best we can do. This is, I think, my 23rd or 24th budget, so I never dreamed I'd be sitting in front of a computer screen looking at everyone giving a budget presentation, but here goes. So when it comes to real estate taxes, obviously the big thing is a meal. What is a meal? What does a meal mean? And a meal is equal to paying $1 of taxes on $1,000 of assessed value. As of right now, this year, Clearfield County residents pay 116.15 mills, or $116.15 per $1,000 of assessed property. Cambria County residents pay $68.28 per $1,000 of assessed property. There's a difference between market value and assessed value. Market value is what the cost will be to actually build your house or build your property as it is. It's the actual value. Assessed value is the value that the county assigns to your property for taxing purposes. And the county is the one that sets that value, not the school district. In Glendale School District, the assessed value that the county places, yeah, there you go. The assessed value that the county places on properties is 25% of the market value. So if you have a property and a house that's worth $100,000 market value, it's assessed at $25,000 for taxing purposes. So in Clearfield County, for instance, if you had a $100,000 home, you would take 116.15 times 25, which is 25,000. Your taxes would be $2,903.75. That's the current year's millage rate, 2019-20. So again, Mr. Gallagher and Mrs. Stiver, Mr. Mincer, the new ones, any of you, if you have questions on these, don't be afraid to give me a call. We'll do one-on-one, email me, ask questions. I want you to definitely feel comfortable with what we're doing, what we're talking about. And I know this is kind of rough, but I'll do the best I can. Page 2. There you go. Good. What is one mill worth in the Glendale School District? Again, I just get the assessed values. These values come from Cambria and Clearfield County, and then I do the math. And our collection rate in the Glendale School District of real estate taxes is 87.5%, what it was this past year. So based on that, one mill brings into Glendale School District just under $34,000, $33,933. So that's what one mill brings in. And I'm getting ahead of myself here, but there is some buzz going on with the legislators right now of putting a freeze on real estate taxes. They may not allow school districts to raise taxes this year. It's not a law yet. It hasn't been voted on, but I've seen it out there with PSBA and PASBO. There are legislators saying that they may not let you raise school taxes. So this all may be a moot point anyhow, but I at least want you to have the information. So page 3, Eric. Page 3. If we were to raise taxes to the index, we can raise taxes 3.9% from this year. So if we would raise taxes to the index, and what that means for the new people, you can raise taxes to what is called the index. If you would want to go beyond that, you would have to have voter referendum and the voters would have to allow us to do that. But we could raise taxes up to 3.9% before voter referendum. So in Cambria County, that would mean we can increase taxes up to 72.87 mils. And in Clearfield County, we could raise them up to 120.67. Again, that's all based on if the legislators allow us to raise taxes or not this year.
Yeah. If,
Yes.
if they're froze, they can't go up at all, or are we still allowed to raise it at 3.9%?
I believe, and again,
I
it
don't believe
was,
there's been any action on that at this point. It's been talked about, but I don't know that there's been any action.
no,
So
there's
this-
not.
At this point, we are still allowed to raise property taxes if we deem it necessary.
Correct. Yes, there has been no action. It's just been a lot of talk going on. And I don't know if that means we can keep it at the same level, which means we probably actually could raise it a little bit to get the same dollar amount, or if they're saying no, you just keep the millages and rates the same as they are, and whatever you get, you get. So it will depend on what language comes out, if anything at all. Okay, page 4. Average cost of 1 meal in the Glendale School District, and it's different between Cambria County and Clearfield County. The average cost of a 1 meal increase for Reed and White Township residents would be 59 cents. That's that number over there in the last column, 59 cents per month. The average cost of a 1 meal increase in Clearfield County is about 41 cents per meal. So that's why when you see that the numbers, why is Clearfield millage higher than Cambria's? Well, it's because there's a whole lot more assessed value, as you can see there in the third column. Cambria County has 24,475,000 of assessed value. Clearfield County has 14,306,000 of assessed value. So it takes more of a millage increase in Clearfield County to gain the same type of dollars in increase as it does in Cambria County. So the district as a whole, when you combine Cambria and Clearfield County, a 1 meal increase costs about $6.07 per year, or 51 cents a month. Again, those are averages. If you have a real, a newer home and it's worth $1 million, as opposed to someone that has a 40-year-old home and it's worth 100,000, averages two different things to those people for sure. Okay, page 5 is just a worksheet that I make to show where taxes have come since 2003, 2004. Can you flip to page 5, Eric? Good. So as of right now, 2019-20, Cambria County's millage is 68.28 mils. Clearfield's is 116.15. In 2020-21, I highlighted there. I just put in the max that you could go to the index, just to give you an idea of what it would be. So you can see the millage rates for the last, 17, 18 years there. Next page, page 6, millage trends. I just basically took that previous page and put it in a bar graph. It actually come up sideways, so that's probably not helping you much. But I just put the millage rates in a bar graph form to kind of show you. You can definitely see it's on a upward trend over the years, and Clearfield County's has raised at a little bit higher rate than, there you go. Good job, Eric. Clearfield County has raised at a bit of a higher rate than Cambria, again, because you need to raise taxes more in Clearfield to get the same amount of tax revenue in Cambria County. Page 7. Let me get on the right page here. Okay, revenues. And I don't want to get ahead of myself here again, but again, revenues, who knows where they'll end up. Basically what I did with revenues, and I'll talk about this more a little bit later, what I did with revenues for 2020-21, I held the line for the most part. I put pretty much the same amount of revenue for 2021 as I did for 2019-20. And honest, I'm praying that we get at least that same amount. Who knows when all this shakes out, if they will cut our basic funding or our special ed funding or our transportation funding. So I'm just going to keep an eye and my ears open for any chatter out of Harrisburg or PSBA or PASBO as to where they think revenues will go. As of right now, like I say, for the most part, I held the line. When I was going through revenues, it's so complicated. One of our local revenues is gate receipts. Obviously, our biggest amount of gate receipts is from football games in the fall. And I'm sitting there thinking, will there even be football in the fall? You can't even really anticipate or count on that. State funding wise, once they get to July, are they, first off, are they going to cut any funding from 2019-20? And second of all, what will that mean for 2020-21? One thing I just saw yesterday, the day before, public pension funds. Public pension funds have lost $419 billion just this past quarter. So I don't know what that will mean for our PSERS rates over the next year, but something tells me that could get ugly. So again, revenues, no one has a crystal ball and everyone's in the same boat. So I'm holding the line for now and hoping for the best, but as I get nearer the end of May and early June, hopefully I can get a little more accurate on them. Even the locals with rural estate tax, I'll have to keep my eye on that. Will they do a freeze or will they allow us to raise taxes? Earned income tax, the 1% wage tax, I put the same amount in as this year. But obviously, if a lot of people are still laid off and furloughed, that's going to take a hit. To what degree, who knows? But so as of right now, again, I just basically put a freeze in on revenue, and I'm hoping for the best. Those are your sources right there in pie shape. And as you can see, Glendale was obviously very heavily reliant on state revenues. That's the reddish orange portion, about 9.456 million. Federal revenue seems to shrink every year, even on a good year. So that kind of scares me. And then local revenue is 3.354 million, the most of which is real estate taxes and the earned income tax, and then your per capitas and LST and things of that nature. So again, the best I can do is hold it right where it's at now. And as we get closer to May and June, try to get a little more accurate if I have more information. Any questions there? Good. Okay, we'll move on to page 8. Major expenditure categories. And again, this is in pie chart. I'll leave Eric flip that. There you go. Good job, Eric. Major expenditure categories for 2020-21. Again, in pie chart, as you can see, the blue shaded area, our major expenditure is for instruction. That's your regular classroom teachers, your K through 6, your English, math, history. That's your regular classroom teachers and your special ed classrooms. The next biggest piece of the pie is support services. And honestly, these are explained later on, but I'll just give you a quickie now. The support services that's the principal's office, the superintendent's office, the business office, the maintenance, the nurse, the guidance counselor. So that's what's considered support services. Non-instructional services, that is athletics, extracurriculars, things of that nature. What else is in there? Maybe our the ball payment is there. Yeah, it's mostly athletics. That's your coaches' salaries, the umpires, referees, transportation to and from games, school plays, things of that nature. Other financing, $316,000. That is the bond issue that goes until 2028. That's the annual principal and interest payment. Page 9. Let me get to page 9. Okay, what I did so that we didn't have 200 pages, and I was trying to explain online, page 9, 10, and 11 are basically the budget pages. We'll start on page 9. This is a pretty simple, broken down into 5 lines. The 2020-21 budget expenditures at this point are $13,627,326. And again, this is something that Mr. DeSabato and I will eventually sit down or talk on the phone or however we have to do it and see if there's still some areas where we can whittle some more or hone in some more for that. So hopefully that won't go up at this point. Hopefully it'll go down some. If you look at the third column, the difference between 2019-20 and 2020-21 expenditures, the amount of increase is $625,000. $225,000 of that is from a grant. It's called the PCCD grant. And what this is for, it's a security grant. It's for replacing doors and locks and security items and cameras and hiring resource officers and things of that nature. So there's a extra $225,000 on the expenditure side, but there's also an extra $225,000 on the revenue side. So it washes itself out. So in all reality, the normal budget items increased around $400,000, which is about a normal year. And you'll be able to see that a little more here once we get into the next couple of pages. But this is, like I say, pretty simple. It's broken down into 1,000, which is instruction, 2,000, again, your support services, 3,000s of the non-instructionals, and the 5,000s of what we just talked about on the previous page. Page 11. No, sorry, page 10. I'm sorry, I went one too many. There you go. Page 10. Now, this is the same breakdown. The total still ends up at $13,627,000. This is broken down by object category. This is more for Mr. Geller and Mr. Stiver, Mr. Menser that haven't been through this as many times. 100s is salaries. That's the salaries of everyone, every teacher, guidance counselor, nurse, maintenance, subs, aides, everyone in the whole school. So this, all these objects broken down, that is every department in the whole school. So as you can see, our salaries overall for the 2020-21 school year increased by $156,000. And that is set by contract. I go down through the teacher contract and put in all their salaries, down through the admin, put in their salaries. Now, the support staff, we don't have a contract written in stone yet, but based on some of the conversations we had, I just made a projection there. We can talk about that later, but other than that, all the other salaries are per the contract. So when you go to line 210 group insurance, that is the PPO, our healthcare. When you look over in the third column, you're like, 26,700 decrease. How does that happen? So I dug into that a little more, and it doesn't take much. We had 3 teachers who were on our coverage that dropped off that were retirees. So they hit their end of their COBRA and their payments. So when 3 teachers drop off insurance, that adds up pretty quick. We had a couple of teachers who in the past year were replaced with, they had 2-person or family coverage. And then when we had someone new, it came down to individual coverage. We had a couple of aides that we hired who opted out. So there were like 5 or 6 different things that happened. And that number is actually right. And from what I'm seeing, and I'll know that tomorrow for sure, it looks like our increase to our PPO health insurance is going to be very minimal, maybe like 1 to 2%. So group insurance wise, we're going to be a little bit under last year. Now, that is a moving target too. During the school year, if a teacher gets married that had individual coverage, well, that teacher can go and be put on 2-person in, or if a teacher has a child, they can go from 2-person to family coverage. So that number actually changes during the course of the year. But as of rate today, what I know and what everyone's coverage is, the amount of expenditures for 2021 is a little over 1.7 million for healthcare coverage. Again, that's set by contract. So if you go the whole way down, I don't want to go over this line by line, we'll be here tomorrow. If you go down on your left side to where you see the number 290, everything down to there is set by contract. Your salaries, your benefits, your dental, your vision, Social Security, retirement, everything down at that point is set by contract. Now, the next line, 300, you see a 0 there, and you probably are going, whoa, how do we have a 0 in something that we had 111,000 in last year? PDE does this every year. They change account numbers on us. So instead of using account number 300 now, they want us to break the 300s out into 330, 340, and 390, depending on the type of service it is. So that's all that happened there. Everything that was in 300 gets spread out amongst 330, 340, and 390. There is $53,000 more overall in those accounts, and that is attributable to the PCCD grant, which is the $225,000 grant I was speaking about earlier. Next, you get down to the 400s, same thing. You see a zero there. Same thing, PDE now wants us to use 411, 430, 432, and 448. So everything in 400 got shifted down to those four accounts. There's 41,000 more total this for 2021 than there was this year, again attributable to the PCCD grant. And again, there's 41,000 more expenditures, but there's also 41,000 more on the revenue side. Get down to the left column where it has 513 contracted carriers. That's Jones and Reynolds, and obviously every year they're contracted, their data rate goes up just a little bit. So last year we had 787,000. This year it's 800,000.
You may or may not have locked up or lost internet connection.
Still there, Jeff?
You hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay. Yeah, something came across my screen, said my internet connection just got weak. The wind's blowing pretty hard. Hopefully it doesn't conk all of us out. So you
We're
can
on
still,
page 1.
we're still on page 10. Yep.
No, I'm pretty sure you moved on past that, Jeff.
Oh, I did?
Still on past it.
Okay.
Keep going.
Okay. So on page 10, if you go down the left side there, you'll see another zero where it says 618. Same thing, PDE did the same thing. Instead of using object 618, they wanted us to take that and another object code and put it into an object called 650. So that's all that's going on there. On the right side, just some of the bigger numbers, you'll see 564. Tuition to VOTEC schools, 245,000. And that's based on a conversation I had with Mrs. Kozak back in February, and I'm going to get with her again and see if she knows any more about the student numbers. That's based on 50 students going to VOTEC. She thought that's about where it would end up. I don't know if she has any better idea now, but I may adjust that up or down after I talk to her again. Okay, page 11. I'll try to start moving a little faster. If I go too fast, someone slow me down, and if not, ask questions. Now let me get to page 11. Okay, page 11. We'll just go to the end. Down on the first column, you'll see the total amount of budget for this year is $13,627,326, and that is 625,000 more than the current year. Again, 225,000 of that is from that PCCD grant. The other 400,000 is pretty much salary increases, and again, the increase in retirement and Social Security, things of that nature. We did have a little bump up with the VOTEC from last year. So yeah, that's where it is as of right now. Again, I need to sit down with Mr. Stabato and have some talks on, we need to keep the same amount for equipment and hardware and computers and things of that nature. So if anything, I hope we can get it down a little bit. Definitely, I don't want it to go any higher. Any questions so far? Okay. Page 12, I'll really start flying through these pages because I don't want to that you're intelligent like you can't read. Page 12 is, that's just a summary of the expenditure categories as we've already talked about. That's where all the expenditures lie within those 5 areas in the budget. Instructions, your teachers, and there's your support services, your non-instructionals. The other financing uses is just the bond issue. Page 13. I won't read this to you. That just provides you a little sample of how I have to code things within the budget. The budget document, when it's all said and done, is around 300 pages long when I have to print it out line item by line item. And there are, I don't know, somewhere around 1,000 or so account codes. And that Inshore Technologies, for instance, they're the company Eric had talked about earlier. They come in and help him with the computers. You would think, oh, you can just put that all in one account. No, I have to spread them out amongst all the grade levels. I have to spread that amongst 18 different categories. So I don't remember what the line item amount was, but it can't just be put in one spot and say, there you go. It has to be spread out amongst all the instructional categories. So that's all that's explaining. Page 14, pie chart. Again, you can see the blue area. That's your biggest expenditure. That's your regular classroom teachers. The reddish orange area is special education. The next biggest is probably operations and maintenance, and that's, you know, that 1.56 million. That's your salaries, that's your benefits, that's the supplies, that's the whole cost for maintenance of the building. So basically, I took the numbers from the budget report we just went over and made a pie chart from them, just kind of pretties it up a little bit. Page 15. Okay, the pie chart that we just talked about, basically that's what this is. I took all these line items and made a pie chart of it. Again, you see the total amount is $13,627,000. So that's how I made the pie chart off of these numbers here. Page 16. I do this every year just to kind of put it in a bar chart of expenditures of this year, which are your blue, and the expenditures in red, which are for the 2020-21. And you can see in most of the categories, it's almost level, not much change. Probably the bigger one, special education. Again, that is one that seems to go up every year. And I based that on, I had several conversations with like Mr. Magulik and the special ed department to see how many students are going to be here and how many at special schools. And that includes transportation. It's you forget, you know, if you have a special ed student going to a special school, that transportation's a big hunk of that too. So yeah, that's what that is. Other than that, when you look across, probably the next biggest jump is in 2611 operation and maintenance. That's about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 over from the right, and that bump there is mostly attributable to that $225,000 PCCD grant. Page 17. Eric, there you go. Good job, Eric. This one here scares me. This came right from Peasers. Trying to remember when I printed it off, but this was updated in December. But based on what is happening now, the rates, our Peasers rate, in other words, what the Glendale School District has to remit to the Pennsylvania Public School Employers Retirement Fund is 34.51% is actually where it ended up. That's highlighted there. Will that stay there for this year based on what's happened? And like I say, I just read the other day where public pension funds lost $419 billion. So I'm hoping and praying Peasers don't end up going past 36% and 37 and 38. So that's what they're saying it is as of now. Who knows come July, hopefully that rate will hold up. Again, that's set by the legislator. The school district doesn't have a say in that. Page 18. This here, just to give you an idea, again, for some of the newer people, it's so important when we're doing contracts, when you're setting contracts, you're setting a good hunk of the budget. So what I always do, just to kind of give you an idea, the beginning teacher salary, $40,922. So for 2020-21, if you hire a new teacher that has individual health care, the total for that teacher till it's all said and done is 66,500. If you hire a new teacher that has family health care, that total jumps up to 81, almost $82,000. The average teacher for 2020-21 is at 50,000, just over $50,000 is the average teacher salary. Again, if they have individual coverage, almost $80,000. If they have family coverage, till you pay Social Security, retirement, dental, vision, and all that, a beginning or a average teacher is about almost $95,000. And again, that's all set by contract. Page 19. Again, I won't bore you by reading this, but I always just put a definition of fund balance in there. And basically what fund balance is just like your checkbook. It's what you have left at the end of the year, and hopefully you didn't overspend and your checks start bouncing. So that's exactly what fund balance is. We're allowed to hold a fund balance of 11%. In other words, if our budget is like $13.6 million, take that times 11%, and that's how much fund balance we are allowed to hold. Again, that's set by legislation. That was page 19. Page 20. And again, this bar graph scares me only because, I feel pretty confident in the expenditure figure because I know what salaries and benefits and equipment and supplies and all that is. The revenue, the 13,165,000. Just keeping my fingers crossed and praying that state doesn't cut too much funding and they fund us at least this year's level. If not, the shortfall of 462,000 could be worse. And even if the state cuts funding, I don't know how many of you remember back in 2007, 2008, when they had what was called ARRA funding, the federal government kind of made it up and helped the school district out a little bit. Will that happen again this time or not? Who knows? Your guess is as good as mine. But as of right now, all things hold equal, we could have a shortfall of up to 462,000. Now, again, there are certain line items that I feel there is padding there. One of them we talk about every year is books. We don't always buy a new book series every year. We have a little over $100,000 as a line item for books every year. So if we do not buy books, that's one area that's padded. I know in the heating, I always allow 215 to 220 a gallon for heat, and I allow 45,000 gallons. Thank God, again, this winter, we had a good winter. It was mild. I think the last time we got fuel, we paid $1.19 or $1.20 for fuel. So, there are areas where it's padded that if everything holds equal, we won't have a $462,000 shortfall. But if things get really, really ugly and this goes on a whole lot longer, it could get uglier than that. Again, at this point, no one knows the answer to that. I've even seen things on PASBO and PSBA where the state itself is considering doing a split budget. They are looking at maybe doing a budget from July through December, and then looking at it then and doing a budget from January to June. But that doesn't help us out. As of right now, they are still holding us to having our budget done by, the preliminary has to be done by June 1st, and then the final budget has to be done by July 1st. So if they hold us to our budget, we're going to have to make a budget pretty much blindly, not knowing what we're getting revenue wise. So who knows where that'll end up. Page 21. Again, this all might be a moot point, but I always like to give you options showing you, and I did it in like a quarter meal increases, show you where we are at a current level. And for the new people, if that's kind of confusing, you're looking at the current level and it's 86.44. That is actually a blend of Cambria and Clearfield County put together. It's not necessarily an average because Cambria carries more assessed value than Clearfield. So it's a blend of the two put together. So I do by quarter meal increases to give you options. Again, until we know whether there's a tax freeze or not, this all might be a moot point, but at least you have options there. And if someone wants other options, go tenths meals or something, I can try to put that together for you. But as of right now, I just did like quarter meal increases. we'll see where that goes. From the next page on, account number analysis. This is just accounting information, just to show you what I do, how I have to code things for PDE. So when I do the budget, I can't just put all of those line items out like the budget reports that I showed you. It's like a 30-page document, and this is how I have to code it. So you don't necessarily need to know this, but so that from that page on, I'm not going to go over all this stuff with you. It's just detail, especially for the new people. You can kind of read and kind of get a feel of where our revenue sources are and things of that nature. So I won't go over that line by line. That's pretty much just extra information when you get bored. So that is pretty much where we sit right now. Again, I feel good about the expenditure side of it, the revenue side. I've never felt any more unconfident, but that's the boat we're in until we see where this all ends. Any questions about anything? And again, for the new people, for any of you, don't be afraid to call me at work, call me at home, email me. Any questions, I want you to feel comfortable because, you know, I don't like doing this the way we're doing it, but we don't have any other choice.
Anybody have any questions for Mr. Westover?
Yeah, Andy, I have one, and I don't know if this is the time to address this. It would be an expenditure, and it has to do with Bill Jones and his transportation payments that he's receiving.
Okay.
He had called me a couple weeks ago when, you know, they were first going to get funded, and was concerned that there was about renegotiating the contract and whatnot. And then after he had a conversation, I didn't about it. Yes.
Is this something we need to discuss in executive sessions that has to do with the
We
contract?
can do that then, if that would be the best time for it, yes.
I believe it would be. So
Okay, thank you.
Is a contractual issue.
Okay.
Sorry to gavel you, buddy.
I know, that's perfectly fine. I just didn't want to miss it, but I wanted to bring it up, so that's perfectly fine. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else have any budgetary questions for Mr. Westover? Or just questions in general? Favorite color, anything? Okay, none being heard. Thank you, Mr. Westover, for that wonderful presentation of hope and joy.
Thank you. You've been a great crowd.
Yes. You'll be here all week trying the deal, right? Okay. All right. Anything else for the good of the order in the work session before we adjourn the work session and go into our executive session? For any of you in the public who may be watching, we'll be in an executive session for some period of time. I can't tell you when. Feel free to stay tuned to your YouTube station, and we will be back at some point this evening to have the regular board meeting. All right.